Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast.
Welcome, everyone, to Talking Grit. We are brought to you by Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events. Follow them on Facebook, and for 99 cents a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me again is Jacob Litton. Today, we're going to talk about the free agent acquisitions that Brad Holmes brought in for us. Also going to talk about some of the re-signed players that we got this offseason. But what we're going to skip over is the extensions. We're going to leave the Jared Goff, Amon-Ra, Penei Sewell extensions for another podcast. So if you're expecting to hear that in here, going to leave that for the next one. So you got that to look forward to. So before we get into all of that, I got a little housekeeping stuff we'd like to go over. So just on a whim last night, I went on to Reddit, went to the Detroit Lions subreddit, and just posted a thing about our new podcast. And when I can say I was amazed by the response, I think Jacob and I were both like dumbfounded by what happened. The post that I put on there, as of right now, in like 24 hours since I posted it, has been seen by 17,000. It's gotten a lot of comments. There was a lot of people that viewed that and also went over and checked out our podcasts. And I really appreciate the feedback that we got. It was just very humbling, to be honest with you, to have people tell you that they like hearing what they're hearing. And, for Jacob and I, this is kind of just like a passion project where we just have fun with it. We don't have any designs on being millionaires and retiring or anything. This is just two guys that like to talk Lions football, and it's really nice to hear other people that support us and wished us success and wished to hear future episodes. So it's very humbling. I really appreciate it, and I know Jacob does too. So again, many shout outs and many thanks to the people on Reddit that, helped make my night and make Jacob and I's day, that we saw more and more people download our podcast. So that was very exciting, and we were sharing that excitement at work today, and the people that work with us.
It made work very fun.
It did.
Constantly refreshing to see. We're getting a lot of love from the Lions fans, so it's been nice.
Yeah, so we both really appreciate it. Much love to everybody out there for that. There was a couple questions that came up in the Reddit that I thought I'd just kind of go over. A lot of people want to know, how long are the episodes going to be? We plan on, we try to keep it under an hour, and we know your time's valuable. You don't want to hear us rambling on about things, or maybe you do. I don't know, but I'm thinking most people would want to do it on a commute. So we're going to try to keep it under an hour. Some may be shorter. Occasionally, maybe they warrant a longer talk, but that's what we plan to be. During this off season, we plan on maybe doing just one podcast a week while we're figuring this thing out. That's where we're probably going to sit. But once we get to the season, Jacob and I want to do a little more frequently, probably shorter ones, just more reactionary to what we're seeing in the games, what Dan Campbell's saying in his press conference, those type of things. The last podcast was like 50 minutes, Jacob, something like that. Is that correct?
It was pretty long. There's a lot of information in there.
Right. And so when we did that, it was like over an hour and 20 minutes. So we cut out, I think, some pretty interesting stuff. We had a really good talk about the Jared Goff chant, and I'm not going to really spoil that because we are going to save that for a future podcast, save the audio on that. So we just want to be respectful of your time. So we're just trying to just do it right, but your feedback's always great. Right now we're just kind of in the Reddit. We're getting our socials up. Jacob's kind of in charge of that, so it's taken longer than it should, because it's Jacob, and he's Jacob. I wanted to let everyone know that before this podcast I took some Motrin because I carried him all day at work, and now I got to carry him through this podcast. So I'll make sure I let everyone know I took some Motrin, so my back would be good. What do you think about that, Jacob?
You're hilarious.
Yeah, everyone.
I think that they already can tell that you're recording your lines way after the actual podcast.
No.
Jason likes to edit and touch and try to make himself sound smarter.
No, I thought of that one at work, and I saved it for right then. So Take that, buddy.
Well, you weren't working, so that's no surprise. Plenty of time
Man. That's
sitting
all right.
down.
Good. Yep. It's all good. I can cut all that out because that's not true. Anyways,
That's what you do.
before we go any further, is there anything you want to add on the Reddit stuff or the downloads or anything, Jacob?
No, just we appreciate the love. Lions fans, it's a nice community. We're just trying to do something positive. And, the response has been great so far, so just really appreciate it.
Yeah. The only thing else I'd like to add is that the guys over at the Honolulu Cheese podcast, or Detroit Lions podcast, features 2 Detroit Lions fans and 1 Packer fan. They reached out to us, gave us some feedback on our podcast. I returned the favor for them. We plan on doing a collaboration with them at some point in the future, but it was really nice that they reached out to us. That's what Jacob and I want for this podcast. We're not against anybody. I don't really think I'm in competition with anybody. Jacob and I are just here doing what we like. This is just for fun for us.
I already don't like the Packers guy.
Yeah, that
I don't know. I haven't had a chance to listen yet, but you know what?
I know those guys
Screw the
deserve a
Packers.
medal for having a Packers guy on their podcast.
I don't know how they put up with it.
Yeah, I know. That's something we're gonna have to ask them when we actually talk with them. So, if they get on our
Yeah.
podcast, that would probably be the first question, don't you think?
I wonder if they have somebody like you that just edits out all the bad stuff that they don't want to hear.
Ooh, man, shots fired. So let's move on to the talk of the day here. We're going to talk about the free agents, the trade acquisitions, and the re-signed players the Lions got in the offseason. So, Jacob, I'm going to just turn it over to you, however you want to start this, whether you want to list out the players or if you want to I know you got some notes on each player, so I'm going to kind of let you just run this, and I'll just jump in when necessary, all right?
We can go down for some of the more popular signings and I guess just go through our thoughts on each one.
Okay.
The first one that I have on my list is not a signing, but it was somebody that we trade for, is Carlton Davis. Obviously, this was before the draft, so we didn't know how the draft was going to pan out, but that was another cornerback, someone with experience. I think someone that would fit in well in the locker room. Now, I won't say when we first got him, I was too excited about him possibly being number 1 corner and having to take over. We had all the things going on with Cam Sutton. We weren't sure how that was going to pan out. Cam was up and down. It wasn't great. We definitely knew that we needed to upgrade there anyway. So I don't know if you can necessarily call this one an upgrade, but after the way the draft went, it's a depth piece. Solid veteran presence, good teammate, good locker room. Do you think that he had to talk to Craig Reynolds when he got here about that block from before?
That's got to be brought up in that locker room, don't you think? For those...
Do they just act like it didn't happen?
Oh, no. I mean, that is a
He's
locker
got
room.
to see it on every highlight reel.
It's a competitive locker room. Carlton Davis probably said something to Craig, I'm sure. I mean, how could he not? For those of you that don't know, I'm sure most of you do, but, that Craig Reynolds block on the Amon-Ra touchdown in the Tampa Bay Buck game, and it's Carlton Davis that Craig Reynolds blew up. In all honesty, I don't see how that's Carlton Davis's fault because Craig Reynolds came out of nowhere to just smoke him. So, yeah, that's so funny because I haven't thought about that in a little bit. That's great that you brought that up.
Right? That's what it would look like if I was blocking you.
That's probably true. The age difference. I already got my walker, so I'd be ready to get right back up. You can hit me with my walker. I can't get away from you.
Last point I had to make there is that we're still taking on a cap hit for Cam Sutton, so we actually are going to pay him more than we're paying Carlton Davis this year.
Yeah,
to not be on the team.
Yeah, and I think from what I understand is the Lions have that in appeal that we might get that money back, but that's from all accounts that takes a while. We're not going to be able to get any of that money back until next season. For right now, I mean, that could be a bonus for next year's cap if we get any of that Cam Sutton money back. But that is really funny that he is making more money than Carlton Davis, our new number 1 corner.
Right.
The thing I'd add about Carlton Davis is that from what I've read and from what I understand, he's really good at man coverage, and I think that's where AG really wants. We'd rather have people out there in man coverage. Those corners can look so much different between man and zone, and some are better at one thing over the other. Looking at his numbers last year, they may not totally fit. I'll also say that He has an injury history past, so that is concerning for me. The draft kind of like settled those fears down a little bit for me with that, as far as like the
Yeah, there's
know,
less pressure for him to perform now.
right, and there's just more depth there. Just based on him talking, I don't think Carlton Davis has a confidence issue at all. Him and Terrion Arnold probably have some really good conversations about things, because they just seem to be very confident individuals, which I think just goes with that cornerback position. You got to have a short memory, and you got to think you can lock everybody down. If you get down on yourself, you're just not going to be productive in the NFL.
Right. Yeah, because you had mentioned about man coverage, and Carlton Davis never even gave up a touchdown last year, man.
Okay. Yep.
0 touchdowns. So
nice research, my friend.
Which brings me to the next one was Amik Robertson, another one before the draft. Not a very flashy signing, a depth piece. How did you feel when we first signed him? How did you feel about that?
I didn't know too much about Amik, to be honest with you, and he seems small to be an outside corner. But when I hear that how confident he is, and the fact that they can play him inside and outside, which is nice to have, I think this team really likes versatility. They like players that can play anywhere, because it's great. Someone gets injured, you can plug in a player, and you don't have to play someone out of position necessarily. You got some versatility. Until I see Amik on the field, I don't know too much about him, but I do like his attitude. I do like his versatility. The team really likes him, and he was part of like their initial plan. And from what Brad Holmes said on one of his press conferences, once they traded for Carlton Davis, they were not expecting Amik to sign on board, but he contacted him and said, "Are we still going to do this?" And they got Amik. So, it's the amount of depth in that secondary compared to last year is impressive. We'll see how Amik does, but I do like having the additional depth there. See where he goes. I don't know if he's going to go nickel or outside. It kind of just probably depends on the rookies, where they are. So he might start out the season as the number 2 on the outside. And then, because this team doesn't seem to rush their rookies unless they're ready. Brian Branch was right out there, but Jameer kind of was slowly brought on. Jack Campbell was slowly brought on. Looks like Sam Laporta was right out the gate, so he was ready to go. So if you're ready, they'll put you out there, but they don't have to put them out there if they think they're going to struggle.
Yeah, that's just low risk, high reward, I guess you would say, for Amik.
Yep.
Got the right attitude. He scored better than Carlton Davis or Cam Sutton on Pro Football Focus's ratings last year. But yeah, I didn't really hear too much about him either.
I think he was just one of those guys that he just does his job. You don't hear from him. You don't need to hear from him. I think he likes football. Just like, everyone Brad Holmes either drafts or signs. Football's got to be number 1, and the rest will take care of itself.
He's quite the Twitter presence.
Oh, does he? I wouldn't know. I'm still on MySpace.
I know you probably don't have Twitter. Do you know what that is?
I do know. It's called X. So I'm one up on you, friend. It's not Twitter
anymore. Good job.
Anymore.
Yes, you did know that.
Yeah, see. Yeah.
People that actually use it, we still call it Twitter.
Nah.
So that's funny that you...
Elon Musk will be mad at you. He bought Twitter, changed it to X.
Sorry, Elon. All right. Get to some of the bigger ones here. Kevin Zeitler. That was huge. And that's one that I really liked. Veteran presence. We lost Jonah, so we needed somebody to step in. And, you really couldn't have asked for a better person to come in here, especially at the salary point.
Yeah, like less than $6 million.
And Jonah's getting 17.
Yep.
He came off a Pro Bowl appearance, top 10 rated overall. He's been a top 5 pass blocking lineman in the last 3 seasons. He's rated higher than Jonah Jackson, pretty much everything. But he is older. So that's the only knock that you can really say.
Yeah, I think with Zeitler...
Let's see here. It was a 1-year deal, so, that was just a good pickup.
Yeah, I think with Zeitler, you're just getting, like, someone that's stronger and he's not going to be as mobile as, say, Jonah was really good at pulling. And so you're not going to really, I don't think, going to get that with Zeitler, but you're going to get a wall that doesn't move. And, pair that in between Frank and Panay, and you could see that they're going to be running to that right side.
And then Jared Goff's got all day.
Well, that, and they're going to get Jameer tons of room to run over there. So I expect a lot of runs to the right, and especially in goal line, because they're going to be ready over there. All right, who you got next, Jacob?
Next one on my list, DJ Reader, another big signing. That one is probably arguably the biggest headline, I guess, out of the free agents was going to be DJ Reader.
Mm-hmm.
Big physical player, run stopper. I mean, really what we needed up the middle. Line him up next to Aleem. You really hope he's creating pressure, driving people outside to Hutch. He desperately needed the help.
Are you talking about Aleem needed help?
Hutch needed help.
Hutch. Okay. Yep.
They're running away from Hutch too easily. No, Aleem made a big step up last year and definitely was helpful.
Okay.
But, we kind of shuffled through our other defensive tackles. We need a solid guy like that. I was going to say, though, he's coming off of an injury, and he has a history of having injuries. How'd you feel about it?
Yeah, that's, the injury is the big question mark, obviously, with DJ Reader. It's coming off one, but I got to say, the Lions probably felt pretty confident that, he was going to recover just based on how fast they signed him. He was one of their primary targets. They waited till he got into the building before they did the signing. So, he was there on a visit. And I think, I haven't read this officially, but my reading on the situation is they wanted to get their own physical and see him and talk to him in person. And, I think they had the contract already pretty much agreed on probably before he got there. And they just wanted to make sure that he was going to be fine physically. So my assumption is that he's going to be fine and ready to play. He's probably not doing anything in OTAs. I wonder if he's going to be in training camp. I'm sure he's not going to play in preseason outside of maybe a snap or two. We could talk about that a little bit later when we get to some of our categories down here. But yeah, that's a good signing.
Who else jumps out at you of our offseason signings?
I think Graham is the next one on there. I think Graham Glasgow. I think getting him back is important for a couple reasons. Number one, he's very versatile, so he can play the center. He can be the backup center. He can play both guard positions. So, say Zeitler gets injured, you can move Graham right back over to cover him. Frank gets injured, you can move Graham in there. I think getting him for a pretty reasonable contract, especially for what his PFF grade last year was. He was playing like a top 10 guard last year, and the fact that he came back last year, it was really good to see him have a good year. I was really happy for Graham. He's the one that left during the Patricia debacle era, and came back to play with his friends, came back to play with Frank and Taylor. And I think if you're happy, you play well. And I think he was happy, and he did play well last year. So to me, I was hoping they would re-sign Graham. Graham wanted to be re-signed. I mean, he made that pretty clear. But I'm really glad the Lions gave him, a good deal. So it's what they didn't take him for granted. They paid him what he's worth, and I'm happy to have Graham back. What do you think about that?
Oh, no, I loved it. I mean, I know we talked about that kind of before, too, but for him to come back, have a great season, help the team out, flipping the script, basically, he's along for the ride now. You talk about how Taylor Decker had to deal with everything before. Graham had to deal with that, too, but he bounced. He wasn't here the whole time, but, he came back. LeBron coming back to the Cavs. Hopefully we finish the job.
Yep. That's what I'd love to see. I mean, I don't think Graham's on LeBron's level. He's a Michigan man coming back to
the hometown. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Hometown hero coming back, winning your team a championship.
Yeah. When I took the boys last year to training camp, we went to training camp as our first year with season tickets, and so we went and experienced a training camp. And afterwards, we went down, and both boys had a ball to sign, and Graham came over and signed. And I whispered in the boy's ear, I'm like, when he gets over here, say, go blue. So they both said, go blue. And Graham said, thank you. I looked at him in the eye, and I'm like, it's so good for you to be back with us. And he said, he goes, it's great to be back. It was just really nice to hear that. He was so gracious to my boys. It was really nice that he signed. It's really impressive being next to an offensive lineman like that. You just get to see how big and strong they are. So Graham was really, really nice to my boys, and I appreciate it. So they both got an autograph from Graham upstairs in their bedroom. So really happy to have that.
Jason's talking about how he likes big, strong men. Didn't see that coming.
Hey, man, come on. This is a football podcast.
How much you love standing next to them? I mean,
hey, that's all right.
I didn't sign up to be part of that.
No, it's all right. Well, you don't have to worry about being big and strong, so you don't have nothing to worry about. Anyways, we could talk. What's the next
I'm
one?
stronger than you.
Yeah, you are. You are. What's the next one that next big signing that comes out to you? I got one in mind, but I'm gonna see if you think of the same thing.
A lot of these were like 1 year, a lot re-signing some of these players. Emmanuel Mosley, we really still don't know anything about him.
Mm-hmm.
Tough break last year. That was good for them to get him back. I think the only other one that kind of jumps out has got to be Brock Wright.
Okay. Yeah, I stole him back from the 49ers.
That was actually one of the things I was going to be talking about because we set these things aside, signings that you don't like. And that's actually, if I had to pick one on our free agent class, I think that would probably be the one where it's like, I don't really like that one as much.
Yeah. I really
How did
don't
you feel about it.
I'm kind of indifferent to it, to be honest with you. I like Brock. Contract seems a little high to me, but it's structured in a way that it's not debilitating at all. So it was kind of interesting. They probably just let the 49ers, basically do the deal. So Brock would agree. And then the Lions just said, okay, that sounds good. We'll take you back. And I'm sure Brock was ready to come back to the Lions. I mean, I don't know if he didn't really have a choice because the Lions, they had first right of refusal on it. Brock is always good for that one play where he slips out, like, they did it first versus the Jets, and then he did it again last year where he just slips out and everyone forgets about him, and then he's there. And he also had a great catch on the Chargers game, if I believe, too. So he slips out, especially as good as Sam Laporta is. All the tension's over there, and then Brock, he can just kind of do what he wants to do. He's just like, I'm over here and I'm wide open. Just throw it to me. The one I was kind of thinking about is actually the Marcus Davenport signing. It's really kind of under the radar. Like, people aren't really talking about it too much, and maybe the expectations are low. But, if you got DJ Reader, clogging the middle, you maybe have Aleem being able to get more pressure because DJ Reader's got to be double teamed. Then all of a sudden, those quarterbacks got to go one way. They either got to decide to run towards Hutch, or they got to run the other way. And if Marcus is over there, he could just be just lucky to get a bunch of sacks just from quarterbacks having to choose the least difficult spot to go with, and it might be just his direction. I don't know. What do you think about the Marcus Davenport signing?
I was okay with that one. A couple years ago, he was very, very solid. He's been declining. I know he was injured last year, right? So, he missed most of the season. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. But, that's been the knock on him.
So, trying to stay healthy.
They don't have a lot of money invested in them, so that's...
you look at the price point. Right. That's what I was going to say. It's not like we offered a huge contract. He also only got a 1-year deal.
Yep.
Maybe he's banking on himself being able to prove it, playing for the Lions and playing as part of this defense, with Hutch on the other side of him.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe he's thinking he's going to turn that into a long-term contract. He's not very old. He's still young.
Yep. Yeah, he's got like a Dan Campbell connection because Dan Campbell was on the Saints when they drafted him. So I think they know what they're getting. My hope with Davenport is that he's not going to be out there nearly as many snaps as Aiden is on the other side. You're rotating him in and out. If you don't have to use him too much, maybe lower the injury risk because he's not out there that much. And maybe you just get more from him because he's got more gas in the tank because he's not out there 75% of the snaps. Maybe he's out there like 50% of the snaps if he's playing that week. So
using him like Von Miller.
Yeah, you just get him out there and you just, you rather have someone at full strength, 50% of the time than someone that's, if you play him 60 or 70, then he's going to get injured and then you don't have him at all. Looking at the rest of the ones, Emmanuel Mosley that you mentioned earlier, you don't know what you're getting. He's coming off the injury risk, but man, if he can play and just get on the field, that just gives you another corner in that room. It could be a really deep room. You could turn it to like one of our weaknesses to potentially, I don't want to say strength, but it's looking a lot better. Vildor, who's on the field with the 49ers game, as a starter, is now you're looking at him as possibly like the fifth or sixth corner on the team. So that's nice to see.
He may not even make the team now.
Yeah, well, especially with the contract. He has very little guaranteed money. There's, no guarantee that he's going to make that team just based on the numbers alone. He's going to be fighting for a position. He might end up just on the practice squad again, or someone else may just pick him up. Who knows? Another person that we re-signed is DPJ, Donovan Peoples-Jones. Got him on a very small contract. It doesn't seem like the Lions are very confident in him. They didn't have to pay him that much, but it could end up being a deal if he ends up being like the fourth or fifth receiver. I think he's still got a lot of things in the tank. He can return, so he can work special teams. So he's a hometown guy, so you want to see him succeed. Any thoughts on DPJ?
Right. Michigan, man.
That's right.
I like DPJ. I mean, obviously he hasn't really performed thus far, but Josh Reynolds isn't there anymore. We're hoping J-Mo takes a big step up. There's going to be targets for DPJ if he's able to get out there. I know they were using him on punt return a lot, but he's not a bad receiver. I mean, he showed flashes when he was in Cleveland, too.
Yeah, he would have those.
He's one of those
games.
players you really want him to succeed. You want him to slot in there, but just haven't seen it so far.
Yeah, I agree. He just seems like he would have flashes in Cleveland where you're like, man, that's Donovan Peoples-Jones. Just being a fan of Michigan, I keep track of what DPJ is doing, especially when you see him on a highlight reel. Stop and look and be like, all right, he's doing all right, Then when he came to Michigan, or back to Michigan, the Lions really wanted him to succeed because now he's on the hometown team. So we'll see. I'm rooting for him. I hope he does well. He's easily cuttable if he doesn't do much in training camp and preseason because that contract's very low. So hopefully he does well. I'm rooting for him. All right. That kind of hits most of them. We got Zonovan, Knight. I think the rest of the signings we kind of, CJ Moore was another one they signed. Those are players that either going to be on special teams or...
I think those are really low impact.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Role players.
Yep. So, I mean, they're important. Like CJ Moore was definitely, especially in the fake punts, had a good one. I think it was versus the Vikings. You might see him out there. Who knows? He's a special teams demon. They needed a little bit of safety depth, so maybe you could, if they're confident in him being in safety, I think that might be a thought process there too. So we'll see. I don't think he had any guaranteed money on his contract, so, he's going to have to win a spot in training camp. He's going to have to prove his worth, but we'll see. Maybe with the new kickoff rules, they might have a spot for him there too. So we'll see.
He needs to stay off FanDuel.
He does, They interviewed him today. I actually read a thing, and he said he's not gambling at all anymore. So hopefully that's true. What a crazy thing, but at least he's come back. I mean, I'm happy for him. So we got some categories here, 3 categories. We're going to talk about our most impactful signing, the signing that you don't like, and your favorite signing. So we're going to just kind of run through these. Each of us will give our answer. First one is the most impactful signing. I'll kind of go first on this one. Jacob, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I know we went over most of the players already, so we're kind of just quickly going through.
Yeah, just quickly going through who I think is going to be the most impactful. For me, it's DJ Reader. If he's healthy, lights out. I think he's going to make Aleem look better. I think he's going to free up Aleem to do what Aleem can do is strong first step, get in the backfield. DJ Reader, if you don't double team DJ Reader, you're not going to be able to run the ball at all because he's just going to push the guy right back into the quarterback and be ready to take the handoff. He's very strong. We already had a very strong run defense. It's going to make this even stronger. And in turn, I think it's going to free up Aleem to not play the nose as much and be able to just think about hitting the quarterback and just getting upfield. Which in turn is going to push, like we talked about earlier, is going to push those the quarterbacks out to the edge. And if Aiden and whoever else is on the left side, they just need to set the edge and let the quarterback come to them. Because a couple times Aiden we needed some pressure and he would jump inside. And I remember in the Chicago game, Justin Fields just kept jumping outside.
Killed
Aiden
us.
would be just over pursuing the inside. So I think if they set the edge and be disciplined in their game, I think that DJ Reader is just going to transform what AG wants to do on this defense, let alone them being able to send Iffy or Brian Branch out because they're going to have to choose their double teams. You're going to have to choose, Reader, and if they chip or double team Aiden, that's going to just leave a lot of guys with one-on-ones, and they have to win their one-on-ones. What's your most impactful signing that you got?
I think you stole my Google documents, and that's why you want to go first.
All right.
That was almost word for word, like some of my notes. You're just reading them back off to me. I see how you work.
No.
Stopping everything up the middle. I just think the big thing is if he's going to stay healthy.
Mhm.
If he's healthy, he changes the entire defense, and it's just a great signing.
Yep.
I also listed as most impactful. I'm not going to repeat what you just said off of my notes. They all know. But yeah, no, I think that's the one I'm excited about. Do you want to continue to go first so that you can just keep doing?
Nope, I want you to do the next one. We went back and forth. I even asked you, I was polite, and then you said yes. But then it seemed like you hesitated, and probably because, you were just going to say whatever I was going to say anyways because you don't have your notes. You're just lying. So, all right.
That took you forever to get that out. Okay, moving on.
All right.
Which one are we going to? You want to do signing I don't like or the favorite?
Either one you pick. I'm going to let you pick because you're arguing about the last one. So you pick.
Well, I already said this one earlier, so you can't steal this one. But if if we're looking at the list and having to pick one that we don't like, I would have said Brock Wright. Not that I don't like Brock Wright as a player, but I think the offer that we signed him for was like, I think $2.5 million or something like that, maybe a little bit more. Mm-hmm. He gets the deal from the 49ers, then we have to match. It's not like he's making $4 million per year on average. He's a blocking tight end. It's not like we're paying him an astronomical amount of money, but at the same time, knock on wood, if the receiving tight end that we have goes down, he's not someone that's going to just slot into that spot. He was targeted 14 times last year. Granted, he caught 13 of them, but how many of those was he an afterthought and was wide open or, was part of a scheme? Once again, it's not that I don't like Brock Wright. I just, I guess that's the signing that not exactly stoked about. I think we could have let him go to San Francisco and it wouldn't have killed the team.
I agree. I just like not letting San Francisco get one of our players. I think it goes to say how good these signings are that you have trouble finding one that you don't like, and you have to pick a tight end that you signed 3 years for $12 million because what's, $12 million over 3 years? I didn't really have a signing we don't like. The only thing I would add to this is like if they were to re-sign Jonah at $17 million, that would have been the signing that I didn't like, and they were smart enough to just let that go. But sometimes it's not necessarily who you sign. It's also who you don't sign and, what decisions you make about what player you're going to keep and what player you're going to move on from. Like Jonah Jackson, thought he was a special talent. Not convinced that he's worth $17 million a year. So, especially when we get Zeitler for $6 million. I know it's just 1 year and Zeitler's older, but for the here and the now and for this team, I think our offensive line is better this year than it was last year. Would you agree on that?
Absolutely. That's actually, that's my favorite signing that I picked was for Zeitler, and for those reasons.
Okay.
So once again, proof that you have access to my documents.
Nope. Yeah.
Pretty much.
We just have good chemistry, and I just kind of, just kind of naturally segue into things,
guys,
and then
Jason
you mess up
can't
the
sound
segue.
smart on here, and he knows he's quickly losing control. He's like, I got to do something. What can I do? I'm going to hack into the documents. I'm going to use his notes and say exactly what he's going to say first.
Listen, if you think
Yes,
I'm smart
Zeitler's my
enough
favorite signing.
to hack into your notes, or if you think that I would spend that much time just to, make you look stupid, you're probably right. But anyways, so I want to talk about my favorite signing. It is, I'm going to go with another offensive lineman. Mine's Graham. I'm super happy to have him back. I think they got him for an affordable deal. Locks up one of those guard positions for 3 years, so we know next year, say Zeitler, we don't sign him. Depending on one of these young offensive linemen we got, maybe they jump in there, maybe we sign another free agent, who knows, but Graham gives us flexibility along with on the guard position, and also, God forbid, that Frank goes down, gives us a backup there. So when we re-signed Graham,
Absolutely.
I was just I was happy and just relieved that it was just, we had done it. I was pretty confident it was going to happen because they both wanted it to happen. But last year, the Jamal Williams thing, it seemed like in the offseason that was a done deal. Like before he left, it just looked like, okay, Jamal wants this done. The Lions have said they wanted this done, but it just, for whatever reason, it didn't happen. And, I was really hoping that did not happen to Graham. And, he resigned, so that relieved all the anxiety that I had. Again, the strength of this team is the offensive line. Your favorite signing is one side of the offensive line. My favorite signing is on the other side of the offensive line. It's Detroit Lions football. We love our offensive linemen. Big, strong offensive line men.
That's your last one. I'm going to sign out the next time you mention big, strong men.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, all right.
It was a good point. It was a good point, though.
All right. The next thing that we want to talk about is the next in line. Jacob and I compiled a list of 5 players that here in the last year of their contracts. We're going to go through, I think we'll just go through the list, and then we'll talk about who we'd want to have if we had to pick one of these players to resign. Players in line are Taylor Decker, last year deal, Derek Barnes, Iffy, Aleem McNeil, and Carlton Davis. Jacob, if you had to pick one of those 5 right now that had to sign an extension, who would it be and why would you do that?
It's tough to pick one, but if I'm looking at that list, I guess I would have to go with Aleem. The way that he played last year, the steps that he's taken, because we didn't play so well the year before. He took a huge leap. Melifonwu did the same. They both rated high 80s for Pro Football Focus. They both showed out and did really, really good. I think that would be my number one. I would put him as my top priority. I would like to re-sign a couple of them, but if I had to pick one, let's get this deal done first, I would say you have to be Aleem.
I'm with you on that. I really think he's going to be vital. I think he's a nice young player that he can do a lot of things, and he's been with his regime. They know him. They drafted him. I fully expect they'll get a deal done if both sides want to get the deal done. It just depends on the money issue. I mean, to me, it comes down to that. Defensive tackles make a lot of money. They're gonna extend Aiden next year. I would be shocked if they do not extend Aiden next year. There's going to be some other money that is going to go out the door there, along with the other players that we just re-signed this year. Some of those contracts are going to be hitting big numbers. But Aleem is going to be a priority, but the money is going to speak there. My player, if I had to re-sign any of those 5, I'm going to lean towards Taylor just because I like to keep the strength on the offensive line. The advantage of re-signing Taylor, especially if we do an extension this offseason, is probably lowering his cap hit. He's like one of the higher cap hits on the team this year. I think that you're going to end up being able to get him cheaper. You're going to keep him on the left side. If you extend him for another 2 years and then you have a 3-year deal, lower the cap hit this year. If you could sign him reasonably, I'm sure Taylor wants to be here. Taylor has been through a lot of losing, and he's not about to give up now. So I think Aleem's probably, money out the window. Aleem's the player that I want on this team if I had to pick one of those 5. Taking money into consideration, Taylor is the player. I think he can save us money this year and then, won't be as expensive as Aleem. So if I had to pick one of the 5, that's probably what I'm leaning. If he's an interesting one, because, he's had some injury risk, but he's just seemed like the last, half of last year, he figured it all out, or AG figured out where to use him. He seemed awesome at rushing the quarterback. I don't know if it was because it was surprising to the teams, but it kept happening even throughout the playoffs. You would have think the tape would have been out by then. They would have known he was coming. So I just think he might be really naturally good at it. He had the biggest interception probably in, I don't know, the Derek Barnes one. Both 2 of these guys had huge interceptions.
Right.
I mean,
tough.
I don't
back
know.
Down off that now.
I don't know. That's a good topic though, right? Which one is the more
You might have to
iconic
hold a vote for
interception?
that.
Oh man, that's a good argument. I don't know. We'll have to spin that off sometime because
We'll revisit that.
Yeah, because when we start getting up on our socials, that would be a great poll question, right?
Yeah.
It's too bad that we're not quite there yet to get feedback from our fans, but that's a great question. So, do you see me on Reddit? If you're one of the people on Reddit that's following us, in that post, I'd love to hear your take on which one was the bigger interception. I'm not going to say my answer right now. I kind of want to hear everybody else's, and then maybe we'll revisit that over the summer because that might be in a slow week.
I'll reserve my answer then as well.
Yeah, keep it. But it's interesting. Both those guys had major interceptions at 2 different very important games for us. If he just seemed to figure it out that last half, I guess the whole point before I went on my spiel there. If he would be an interesting one. The question is, can he stay healthy and can he maintain that high level of play? So What's your thought on Iffy?
Like I said, another huge leap. Him and Aleem both played, much better than they did before. I guess it really depends on how this season plays out. Because right now, if you're going to re-sign him, you could probably re-sign him $6 million a year or something like that. But if he has another season, like he was tearing it up the end of last year. So if he has a whole season like that this year, he's probably looking to get paid. Yep. And he's looking for probably about twice as much as that. And then, can we afford that? As you mentioned, we got Hutchinson's contract looming. I really feel like Aleem is going to get paid.
Yeah, I think Aleem's going to get at least $25 million a year, probably more, especially if the cap number goes up. I think he's looking.
I was thinking probably right around 20, but I mean, that's the same, tears it up again this year, and then that's going to skyrocket.
Yeah, I think if he doesn't get $25 million a year, I'd be pretty shocked just looking at where everybody at the top 5 sits. When those guys sign, it's kind of like the next guy up gets paid, and I'm not saying he's in the elite class, but if TJ Reader makes him look like a superstar this year, he's gonna get the Brinks truck backed up to his house.
I mean, if you say $25 million, that puts him above Quinnen Williams of the Jets, Derek Brown, Justin Matabuke, who just signed. That puts him above all those guys. Chris Jones is at $31 million. Christian Wilkins is at $27 million.
Yeah, I just think it's one of those things that the cap keeps going up. So it's not necessarily like, do I think he's a better player than those guys? No, I'm not saying that. But, if he's a free agent and you need defensive tackle help, he's going to be on your list. And when you have few elite guys going out, they're going to get paid. I hope for his sake that he gets paid what he's worth. For the Lions' sake and my sake, I hope that he's be able to stay with the Lions for whatever contract they can work out.
Right. Really want him to stay, but it's really hard not to talk about it. But the Hutchinson contract, if you talk about any of those, Hutchinson's the one that's going to get paid.
Oh, yeah.
And, he's probably going to leapfrog Bosa, I would assume.
Yeah.
Do you get a hometown discount with him or,
But I think the thing if you look at the Penei Sewell deal, not that we're going to get into those contracts, they bought him out of his 5th-year contract, and then extend him on that. I could see a similar thing happen with Aiden, and then you get to spread that signing bonus throughout that whole contract, and that kind of lowers the cap hit throughout. So I could definitely see them just doing that. They could just lower the cap hit, and then hopefully that can help the contract situation out. I don't see Aiden wanted to leave. I think Aiden's going to make it worth, he's going to get his money, and I think the team isn't going to want him to leave either because he's everything you want in a player, plus he's got the hometown thing going on, and he's just seeing this.
Right.
I wouldn't even say resurgence of Lions because resurgence means they were there some before. This emergence is what I guess I would say. I can't see him wanting to leave, just like I can't see Taylor want, just as we're becoming a perennial winner, leaving during that. So I think they'll get the deal done. It's
just to add to the Taylor thing.
Yeah.
He's the longest tenured Lion. He's been on the team longer than anybody else. He's going to be 32 when he signs the next contract. So that's another one. Do we get a hometown discount? I'm sure he wants to stay here. Like you said, he doesn't want to, he's been here long enough, finally got it going. I'm sure he wants to stay. How much of a discount do you get from him? Do you think they should pay him top money?
Yeah, I don't think he's going to ask top money, and nor do I don't think he necessarily deserves top money. I wouldn't call him necessarily a premier left tackle in the league, and the fact with the age. So I think that, you're going to spread that money out. Like I said, he's one of the higher cap hits this year on this year's cap. I think they lower that number, and then, you push those cap savings into the next couple of years when you're starting having these other big contracts hit. I think that's the advantage of re-signing Taylor is that you're potentially saving money this year, and then you're locking down that left side again for another couple of years, and then at that point, you got to decide whether you're just going to always keep Penei on the right, or was he your next left tackle and we're getting the right? It probably just depends on the player that comes to us. I mean, whether through the draft or free agency at that time. The player that we didn't talk about was Carlton Davis. They restructured his deal after they traded for him, gave up a 3rd-round pick, which is, it's a considerable investment, a 3rd-round pick, especially with Brad Holmes' pick.
Yeah, when you're Brad Holmes, that's right. That's as good as a first.
You're going to get a quality player. The draft kind of just fell the way it fell. I think the Lions, I don't think they went out there and said, hey, we're going to draft 2 cornerbacks. I think it just happened that, they like these 2 players that they got. They traded up for Terrion. Ennis Rakestraw just kind of fell to them. Some people were mocking him in the 29th, spot. I think that they were happy to get him. I think depending on how those rookies develop, it makes Carlton Davis, they're probably like, well, we don't need to extend him this year. We're going to see how he plays and how the rookies play, and then we'll kind of go from there. That's my read on it.
Exactly. We're in a good position, see how it pans out.
Yep. That's what I see. So from all that, I'm going to go back to that most important interception. That's all I'm going to be thinking about tonight after I start editing this.
What about the strong men?
Nope, not going to be thinking about that at all. Well, I'll be thinking about it as I edit it out of the podcast, and I'll leave it. You keep saying strong men.
You're going to twist it. Yeah, there you go.
Everyone will be like,
that's how
you keep mentioning strong men. So, all right, man.
I have to record it on my own end, so you can't twist these things around.
Yeah, no. That's why I got the edit password, and I'm not even going to share that with you. So,
it's fine.
Again, I just want to appreciate everyone that, that commented over on Reddit again. It's really made my day. It's kind of what I've been thinking about all day. So I really appreciate that. Jacob's working on the social media aspect, so we're getting the Facebook page is actually up. They could search on it right now, correct?
Yeah, Facebook page is live now.
Okay, it's live. Haven't really pushed any content out there yet. We're kind of just seeing where all this leads, and then we'll go from there. So, but you can go in there if you want to comment to us. We'll be checking that page out, and we can, kind of have contact there. Also on the Reddit page, if you search up New Lions Podcast, it was in there. My call name on there is just Woodrow Jr. So if you see that, that's where, there's kind of a thread already talking about our podcast. So I'll probably create a community at some point on there. But for right now, you could just go on there and read and comment on there. I'd really be happy to hear everybody's thoughts on that. The next one I think we're going to talk about is the resignings. We'll get that up, just depending on when we have time, but it's going to be once a week. So usually on Thursday nights, it seems like we're recording. So hopefully up on Fridays. I'll have this edited and up somewhere on Friday or Saturday, just depending on my work schedule and stuff like that.
Jason plays bingo on Wednesdays, so we can't do it then.
Yeah, that's right. As much as we were joking around here, Jacob and I were really happy. I'm super proud of what he's able to do on his end. Also, I would just want to give a shout out to his wife, Deanna, who made the logo for us. I got a lot of positive comments on the logo. I love it. I know Jacob loves it. So I want to thank Deanna for doing what she did. She's an amazing artist. So we plan on making some shirts with that logo on there, and we'll kind of just get that on socials if we're going to sell those or if we're going to give them giveaways of some sort.
So giveaway, yeah.
Yeah, we're kind of playing with all that. So sorry I don't have any for sure information on that, but we're just playing this all by ear, and and again, we really appreciate the support that we've seen so far. It's been more than I expected this early. I really am just very grateful for all that. Anything else you want to add, Jacob?
Yeah, no, I just second that. We're really just learning the ropes. We're really just very new, just getting things going. I mean, just creating the social media and just getting everything ready now. So to already have the response we've had is, very positive. Very good feeling.
So I'm just so appreciative of everything. So I'm kind of rambling on, but it's really mind-blowing to me. I guess for Jacob, we'd like to thank everyone for listening, for all the support that we've got. I hope everyone that's listening to this has a great day. And as always, go Lions.